Hello, class of fall 2020, Intro to Philosophy, CoPhilosophy, Co-Fi, I call it. Strange year, isn't it? We'll have to do this remotely for the foreseeable future, but I think we can make it work. I think it'll be great. I am Dr. Oliver. Been teaching at MTSU for quite a while, and I look forward to getting to know all of you at a remove. But soon enough, we'll be, I hope, meeting in person. But it's opening day. I always make a big deal of opening day. I am a baseball fan, even this year, even though I find it very hard to watch ball games when there's nobody in the stands except cardboard cutouts. But as you will see, I tend to turn to baseball metaphors to illustrate points excessively, no doubt. But it is opening day. Opening day in baseball is a big deal, and opening day in academia, a big day for me. I always love the new semester, the start of a new semester, fresh starts. Everybody's in first place. Nobody's lost anything yet. But it will be different this year. 2020 has been a year like no other. If you want, you can click on my link to last year's opening day intro, an audio recording of that, and you will perhaps be able to gauge how different things are now from the way they were then. But they're not entirely different. Plenty remains much the same. Most of all, our objective in this course, which is to learn something about philosophy, to do some philosophy, and to open ourselves to new perspectives. Opening days are still a big deal, whatever the circumstances, whatever is happening in the world. And we get to introduce ourselves. I get to begin introducing our course a little bit, and we've all still got high hopes, I hope. If you haven't guessed from my sporting metaphors, I am a big baseball fan, raised in the St. Louis area. I went to my first live Cardinals game, and I think they're finally over their COVID problems, let's hope. But that was several stadia ago, the old Sportsman's Park before they built the first Busch Stadium, back in the 60s. I hope you think that makes me sound older than I look, but I've not got to see the Cards in action much in 2020. Nobody has, since they came down with the virus. In fact, my wife and I were in Scottsdale, Arizona for spring training back in March when they pulled the plug on the season, postponing it until August, or late July, I guess. We were enjoying the Cactus League spring training and got to see like 3-4 games. Got to see David Price, Murfreesboro's own David Price, pitching for the Dodgers a couple of days before they canceled spring training. Well, it turns out that the rest of spring semester was also delayed, and we haven't been back in our brick and mortar classroom ever since. But making the best of it by the means available to us, including video, including audio, and of course the ubiquitous Zoom, which if you've not used it yet, you will become more than familiar with it this semester. But let's look on the bright side, as Monty Python's Life of Brian would invite us to do. If you've never seen that, you should check it out. A lot of good philosophical points made in that film. But many of us, thanks to these extreme measures, social distancing, masking, and all the rest, have managed to dodge COVID-19. I hope you have too, and I hope nobody close to you has come down with it. We're healthy enough to carry on by these other means. So we'll be communicating in my classes on this platform, on Zoom, on the blog site, CoPhilosophy or Co-Fi. And we'll look forward to the day, whenever it comes, when we can again share physical space on our currently lonely campus. Meanwhile, in spite of everything, it is opening day again, so hooray. Let's introduce ourselves, class of fall 2020. My fellow CoPhilosophy collaborators. check out the William James quote at the top of our blog site, and maybe that will answer whatever lingering question you have about why I call the class CoPhilosophy. But I invite you all to go to the comments section at the bottom of the introductions post that I am reading from, and answer some very basic questions like, who are you? Why are you here? Meaning, why are you here in this course, on this campus, so to speak, at MTSU, in this state, on this planet? You know, so take the question any way you choose, as broadly or as literally as you care. Who are you? Why are you here? Be philosophical in your response if you wish. What do you think philosophy is? Do you have a definition? Philo and Sophia are Greek roots for the word, but I won't spoil it yet. I'll wait and see if anybody knows the answer. We'll talk about this on Zoom. But do you have a personal definition of philosophy that may have nothing to do with the etymology of the word? Do you have a favorite philosopher? I think I've already mentioned in my earlier communications that mine is William James, the American pragmatist, founder of the pragmatic school, or one of the founders. He tried to give credit elsewhere, but I think he was the major instigator back in the late 19th century, early 20th. Do you have an easily summarized personal philosophy, life philosophy? Maybe something even as pithy as Charlie Brown's little sister Sally's philosophy. If you've ever seen that play that features Sally singing a song about her new philosophy, she tries out a number of different ones and finally hits on the one that she thinks is the right one for her. No. That's her philosophy. I hope that's not yours. That's a little bit pessimistic to my taste. But in any case, this would be a good place for us to start. If you think you've got a pithy little philosophy that you can summarize in a word or a few, what would that be? Share that in the comments space, along with your answers to the questions. Who are you? Why are you here? What do you think philosophy is? Do you have a rough and ready definition of it? Do you have a favorite philosopher? What do you know? Basically is what I'm asking. What do you know or think you know about our subject here at the outset? And we'll grow from there. We'll not go over the syllabus in fine detail or get bogged down in the nuts and bolts of course mechanics on the first day of class. There's plenty of time for all of that later, soon, as the need arises. But do peruse our blog site and read the syllabus and let me know what is confusing that I can help you with. And sooner or later, we'll all be on the same page. Read your classmates' introductions and post your own. Your introduction consisting of your answers to those questions. Who are you? Why are you here? What do you think philosophy is? Do you have a favorite philosopher? Etc. Read your classmates' intros. Post your own. Respond to theirs if you have something positive, constructive to say. That's generally my advice when we engage in these online conversations. Be constructive. Be contributors to a positive conversation. And so I guess I'll kick it off. I'm Dr. Oliver. And by the way, my venue here as I record this video, this is Lakeside at a lake in Alabama. We hadn't gone anywhere since March. My wife and I and our younger daughter. Older daughter is off in California. And we were just itching to go somewhere, so we looked for a lake not too far from home. And this is the one we hit upon. I'm sorry the lighting conditions for this video aren't optimal, but I wanted to have a little snapshot of our so-called vacation to stick on the website before we come home tomorrow and get ready for our first day of class on Monday. Anyway, I'm Dr. Oliver, Phil Oliver. I go by Phil, which is my middle name. James Philip is how they christened me, so to speak, at birth, way back in the day. I live in Nashville. We toyed with the idea of moving to Murfreesboro over the summer, but it didn't come to pass. So still living in Nashville. It's about not quite an hour's commute for me on days when I commute. I've gotten really tired of that commute, but I kind of miss it suddenly. Anyway, live in Nashville with my wife, with the two dogs we rescued. I think they maybe rescued us, considering how fond we've grown of them, back in 2018. Nell is a sweet and gentle pit/boxer. She has an intimidating look about her, but she's the sweetest dog you'd ever want to see. PETA is her little sidekick. They were sidekicks at the Humane Association in adjoining pens, and we just thought they went together. They're kind of a Mutt and Jeff look, tall and short, because PETA is a combination dachshund/lab, if you can picture that. A long, short dog with a lab face, with a lot of spirit. They're both great dogs. We also have a cat. I think of him more as my wife's cat. His name is Zeus. I think our older daughter named him way back when. She lives in California. She's already graduated and is looking to make a splash in the film industry if it ever gets going again. Younger daughter is one of your peers at MTSU. I've included in the blog post introducing myself that I've included a photo of Nell and PETA back when we first brought them home. But they look much the same today. Right now they're on the couch across the room here in this little cabin where we're staying. My office, if you ever have occasion to go there, and if I ever have occasion to go there again, is 300 James Union Building, the JUB, in the so-called historic west end of campus. But of course, I'm not going to be around much there in the foreseeable future. None of us is, certainly in our department or many of my colleagues. Remote office hours are listed in the right sidebar. Call or text at those times and let me know if you'd ever like to arrange a private Zoom session. If you don't think we can conduct our business effectively via email or text or on the phone, if you do telephone conversations. Some people don't anymore. I've been at MTSU since the early 2000s, teaching philosophy courses on diverse subjects, including atheism, childhood, happiness, the environment, and I'm teaching the environmental ethics course this semester again. Teach it every other fall. Evolution, I just taught a course on evolution in America this past summer in the MALA program, Master of Liberal Arts. The future, epistemology, identity, what else? Metaphysics, Anglo-American philosophy, consciousness, I said evolution already, and bioethics. I'm always open to working with students on independent readings courses as well. So if ever you don't find a course listed that you are interested in, let me know. Maybe I can help you with that. My PhD is from Vanderbilt. I'm originally from Missouri, near St. Louis. My undergrad degree is from the University of Missouri, Mizzou in Columbia, Missouri. I do wish my schools weren't in the SEC. I don't approve of the inordinate emphasis on major collegiate sports culture or football brain injuries, as I'm sure to tell you again if they play football this fall, as I think they're planning to, as of this date. But I admit I did enjoy the Titans' playoff run last winter. I have been known to watch some football in the wintertime, hoping nobody sustains serious and lasting injury. My philosophical expertise, such as it is, centers on American philosophy, the American philosophical tradition of William James and John Dewey and Charles Sanders Peirce, more recently Richard Rorty, and others. A former student once asked me to respond to a questionnaire, which I have linked to. I'll have to see if my link is still good. If you're curious, you can learn about more about me there. I don't think I've changed any of the answers that I gave. I would change any of the answers that I gave years ago when I filled out that questionnaire the first time. What you most need to know about me, though maybe you don't need to know about it as much as you would have if we were meeting in person on campus, is that I am a peripatetic, and I encourage you to be one too. If you're not sure what a peripatetic is, ask me, look it up, or I'll tell you when we Zoom. I post my thoughts regularly to my blogs Up at Dawn and Delight Springs, which I've linked to in this intro. Also I'm on Twitter. @Ossifer is my handle. That is my handle because years ago, well, actually during an interregnum in my academic career, between the time when I made my PhD proposal and the time which I actually went and wrote it, I was working at a bookstore in Nashville, a great bookstore that's no longer there. Sadly, the old Davis Kid Booksellers on Hillsborough Road, its space is now a bank. It's across the road from a very good bookstore, smaller though, Parnassus Books, Ann Patchett's store. But I was working there at Davis Kid back in the 90s, and one of my co-workers just thought it was very funny that my name was Phil Oliver, and I was a philosopher. And so I became Mr. Ossifer, to him at least, and to a few of my peers back in the bookstore back in the 90s. And so that handle sort of stuck, and now on Twitter I am @Ossifer. Well, I've experimented with podcasting as a classroom tool as well, and with supplemental audio and video content, which we will be exploiting, using during this semester. You can follow me if you want on Twitter or anywhere else, but of course, as Brian Cohen said in Monty Python's Life of Brian, you don't have to follow me or anyone else. If you know who Brian Cohen is, independent of what I just said, then I will give you rhetorical extra credit, which is of course worth nothing, except, I don't know, a feeling of superiority, whatever. Anyway, as Immanuel Kant, the old German Enlightenment philosopher, said, sapere aude. And you can look that one up too. It's a very important phrase and an idea, and we will be talking about it. We're actually reading a book inspired by Immanuel Kant later in the semester called Why Grow Up? But sapere aude, we'll talk about that when we Zoom as well. You don't have to follow me, but when a blog or an audio link says listen or watch, you might want to check it out. It might turn out to be helpful. I think maybe the best way to introduce myself is to introduce you to some recommended texts, videos, and podcasts. And so I've got a whole slew of links on the page here. Check those out. Pragmatism Lecture 1, the first lecture, William James's lectures, which became the book Pragmatism, which really articulated that new and emerging philosophy back in the early 1900s. Check out Gymnasiums of the Mind, which is a very short essay on the peripatetic philosophy again. Pale Blue Dot, which is a video, as well as a printed text. I've got links to both of those. That is part of my own personal philosophy, trying to take the wider view of our situation in the cosmos. Also recommended for general knowledge and background for our course, What's Philosophy For? A video from the School of Life. And Who's Your Favorite Philosopher? And a podcast from Philosophy Bites, a podcast called Philosophy Bites, but there's a particular podcast that asks the question and answer it, who's your favorite and what is it? Asks a number of contemporary academic philosophers to answer those questions. And their answers might give you some notions as to how you would answer them yourself. Also check out This I Believe, the website This I Believe, for examples of others' personal philosophies, succinctly summarized. Those are all recommended sources, not required by any means, but they would give you a better sense of who I am, the fact that I find all of those sources to be instructive and helpful, and I share quite a bit of the perspective that is offered there. But enough about me, more than enough about me, I'm sure. Who are you? Where are you from? Where have you been? What do you like? Who do you want to become? Whatever else you want to say about who you are. Why are you here on Earth in Tennessee at MTSU in philosophy class, etc., etc.? What is philosophy to you, if anything? And if nothing, that's fine, say that. one of our goals in the semester will be to give you an answer to the question, what is philosophy? That you can take and keep and work with in the future. And do you have a favorite philosopher or philosophers? And it doesn't have to be somebody famous or that anybody else has ever heard of. Maybe it's your grandpa or your mom or a good friend or somebody you've recently read, whatever. So reply with your introduction, read your classmates' introductions, and we will get to know each other better on Zoom soon. I'll be sending out the Zoom link at the end of this week, which is the week just before classes start on Monday the 24th. Okay, so our assignments for our second class meeting next week on the 26th and 27th is, and you can always find our future assignments listed on our blog site in the upper right corner under Next. Wednesday the 26th, Thursday the 27th, Socrates and Plato, a very short little chapter about those pioneers of Greek philosophy from the Little History, abbreviated LH, and 1 for the first chapter. And then FL 1 and 2, that's Fantasyland, chapters 1 and 2, and those are also very short little chapters. And How the World Thinks, HWT is the abbreviation there. Read the intro and the prologue to that. All right, I think that's enough from me for now, at least in this introduction, and I will look forward to speaking with you, looking at you on the Zoom platform, and carrying on with conversations on this platform, the blog site CoPhi, in days, weeks, and months to come. And happy opening day. Talk to you soon.